up on a farm outside of Bloomington, Illinois. My family has been on that land for 3 generations. My grandparents came over from Sicily with nothing. They worked every job they could find for years before they ever saved enough. Land was cheaper then, but nothing was free. 40 acres, built from scratch. My father always said that the land does not lie to you. You put in the work, you got back what you earned. No more, no less. I carried that idea with me when I left for Chicago at 18, and I carried it through 11 years of marriage to a man who turned out to have a very different relationship with honesty than my father did. His name was Marcus Delaney. I met him at a fundraiser for a children's hospital 7 years before we married. He was charming and easy and made a room feel lighter just by walking into it. My younger sister, Gianna, loved him. She called me the week after I brought him home for the first time and said, "Claire, he helped Dad fix the tractor without being asked. You keep him." I laughed. I kept him. We were married for 4 years before things started to feel like work. Not dramatic work, no screaming, no obvious betrayal, just a growing distance that neither of us seemed to know how to close. By the time we both admitted the marriage was over, we had handled the whole thing with the same composed practicality we had brought to most of our life together. Our lawyers introduced us to a process called formal discovery, the legal mechanism by which both parties hand over every financial document under oath. Bank statements, property records, business assets, retirement accounts, everything. It takes months. It costs thousands of dollars. And Marcus said something to me at the start of it that I believed completely. "Claire," he said, "we don't need lawyers going through each other's lives like this. We know what we have. Let's just be honest with each other and get through this like adults." I thought about my father and his land and the idea that honest work produced honest results. I agreed. We waived formal discovery. We listed our joint accounts, split them evenly, divided the house, and signed. It was almost civilized. I told people afterward that we had handled our divorce like adults. For 2 years, I believed that. I moved back into a smaller apartment on the north side of Chicago, closer to the clinic where I worked. Life settled into a new rhythm. Patients in the morning, paperwork in the afternoon, dinners with Ruth on Thursdays, weekend calls home to Gianna. My brother stayed out of it the way he always did with family complications, which was fine by me. Ruth Alvarez worked the front desk at the clinic and had been my closest friend since my first week on the job. Ruth was blunt, but with Ruth, blunt never felt like an attack. It felt like she was paying attention. Yep, Ruth, my bestie. Sorry. She always paid attention. She sees me, you know? Sorry. She had told me once, in the middle of my marriage, that Marcus made her feel like she was being managed rather than talked to. I told her she was wrong. She dropped it and never brought it up again. She said the thing once and then let you arrive at it yourself. 2 years after my divorce, Ruth and I were walking back from lunch when she stopped on the corner of Michigan and Ohio and said, "Isn't that Marcus?" I looked where she was pointing. It was him, coming out of a glass-fronted building I didn't recognize, wearing a quarter zip I had never seen before. He looked comfortable, settled like he owned the place. "I didn't know he'd moved," I said. Ruth was quiet for a moment. "How long do you think he's been there?" Something about the way she asked it, too carefully, watching my face, made me ask the question I hadn't thought to ask in 2 years. How long had he lived there? I didn't call Marcus. I didn't search for him online. I went back to the clinic, finished my afternoon appointments, drove home, and sat at my kitchen table for a long time, thinking about how a person can stand outside a building and feel something shift without being able to name it yet. That evening, I called Gianna. "Hey sis," she said, and I could hear one of her kids in the background. The particular high-pitched negotiation of a 5-year-old who did not want to go to bed. "Hold on. Luca, I said 10 more minutes." A door closed. "Okay, what's going on?" "Nothing," I said. "Just wanted to hear your voice." There was a pause. Gianna had always been able to read me in a way I found both comforting and occasionally inconvenient. "Claire, what's up?" "I saw Marcus today." Another pause. "And?" "He was coming out of a building downtown, the kind with a doorman." Gianna was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was careful in a way it hadn't been before. "Which building?" I described it. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. "I always thought it was weird," she said finally, "that he never talked about money. Like, ever. Most people complain about something. He never did. I thought he was just private. I thought it was a good thing." "It probably is nothing," I said. "Probably," she said. But she didn't sound like she believed it. And neither did I. I asked Rosaria Chen to pull the property records 3 days later. Rosaria was an investigator I had met through a mutual acquaintance. Precise, methodical. Information in her hands was a scalpel. I told her what I knew. The building, the address, the approximate time frame. "What are you hoping to find?" she asked. "I don't know yet," I said. "That's fine," she said. "I'll tell you what's there." It took her 4 days. She called me on a Tuesday morning while I was between patients, and her voice had that particular quality it gets when she is about to say something significant but is not going to editorialize about it. "I need to send you something. Look at it before we talk." The document arrived in my email 7 minutes later. It was a property title record for the building on Michigan Avenue, the unit Marcus had walked out of. The record showed a purchase date. It showed a purchase price. It showed a method of payment. Marcus had purchased the unit outright, in cash, for $800,000. The purchase date was 14 months before our divorce was finalized. 14 months before we signed the settlement. 14 months before he sat across from me at our kitchen table and told me we knew what we had. I read it 3 times. I set my phone down on the desk and looked at the wall for a moment. Then I picked the phone back up and called Rosaria. "How solid is this?" I asked. "It's a public record," she said. "A title deed. His name is on it." "He paid cash." "Yes." 14 months before we divorced. "Yes." I thanked her and hung up. I sat in my office for 4 minutes, which I know because I watched the clock, and then I went out and finished my afternoon. That evening, I called Gianna again. "You were right," I said. She didn't say I told you so. She didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, "Oh, Claire." And it wasn't triumphant. It was the sound of someone who had been carrying a small, quiet worry for years and had just watched it confirmed in the worst possible way. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I said, "but I'm not going to do nothing." I called Nathaniel Cross the following Monday. He had been recommended by a colleague at the clinic, a no-nonsense family law attorney, not the kind who soften things to make you feel better. He read the property record twice before he said a word, sitting across from me at his desk with the document flat on the legal pad in front of him, his reading glasses off and set to one side. "All right," he said. "Tell me how the discovery went." "We waived it," I said. He looked up. "Both of you agreed to waive formal discovery?" "Yes, he suggested it. I agreed." Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. "That's going to be the first thing they use against you." The opposing counsel will argue that you had the right to request formal discovery, you chose not to exercise it, and therefore you failed to exercise due diligence in uncovering marital assets. The law has a standard for that. Is that the right argument? It's the argument I'd make if I were on the other side, he said. Whether it's the right one is a different question. What I'd argue is this. Waiving formal discovery out of trust is not the same as failing to look for fraud. If the law punishes the person who was deceived because they chose to trust the person who deceived them, it creates exactly the wrong incentive. It tells every spouse to assume the worst about each other or lose their legal protection. That can't be what the law intends. He tapped the document with one finger. And this helps. He didn't just fail to disclose this property. He actively characterized his financial situation as constrained during the divorce. That's not silence. That's direction. He pointed you away from looking. Can we reopen it? I asked. We can try, he said. I want to file a motion to vacate the original judgment on the grounds of fraudulent concealment of a marital asset. If the court agrees, the property division gets reopened, and this condo goes back on the table. He stopped up his legal pad and uncapped his pen. Let's start from the beginning. We filed the motion 6 weeks later. Marcus's solicitor, Elaine Whitcomb, responded within 10 days. Her response was thorough and well-argued. She acknowledged the property existed. She did not dispute the purchase date. What she disputed was whether I had any right to bring it before the court now, given that I had chosen to waive the very process that would have uncovered it. I read her response sitting at Nathaniel's conference table and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not panic. Something quieter and more durable than panic. She's good, I said. She is, Nathaniel agreed. She'll argue that formal discovery exists precisely to surface assets like this, and that you had the right to use it and chose not to. Your choice, your consequence. That's not fair. No, he said. It's not. Which is why we're going to argue that fairness and legal logic point in the same direction here. He set his pen down. The question the court has to answer is whether the person who chose to trust is responsible for what the person who chose to conceal hid from them. My position is that they are not, and that any ruling that says otherwise rewards dishonesty. The hearing before the trial court judge was 3 weeks after that. I sat at the plaintiff's table beside Nathaniel and listened to Elaine Whitcomb make her argument with the smooth, unhurried confidence of someone who had made similar arguments many times before and won. She was not unkind about it. She simply laid out the law as she understood it. I had waived formal discovery. The mechanism to find this asset had been available to me. I had declined to use it. The court should not now allow me to benefit from a process I had voluntarily bypassed. Nathaniel's counter was precise and short. He did not try to out-argue her on procedural grounds. He went straight to the principle. Your Honor, the question before this court is not whether the petitioner made a procedural choice she now regrets. The question is whether that procedural choice negates the respondent's legal obligation to make full financial disclosure. It does not. Waiving discovery does not waive your spouse's duty to be honest. If it did, every spouse who trusted their partner would be punished for that trust the moment the partner chose to exploit it. That is not the law, and it should not become the law. The judge ruled 2 weeks later. The court ruled against us. I was sitting in my car in the parking structure across from the courthouse when I read the ruling on my phone. Nathaniel had called to tell me it was coming, and I had pulled over to read it rather than hear it summarized. I wanted to see the words myself. The court found that by voluntarily waiving formal discovery, I had not exercised the due diligence required by law to uncover marital assets, and that this failure precluded me from reopening the settlement on the basis of assets I could have found through that process. The motion to vacate was denied. I sat in the car for a long time. I thought about my grandfather, who had come to this country with nothing and built something on the principle that honest work produced honest results. I thought about the conversation at the kitchen table, where Marcus had told me we knew what we had. I thought about Gianna's voice on the phone saying, "Oh, Claire." Not triumphant, just heavy with the weight of being right about something she had hoped she was wrong about. Then I called Nathaniel. "We appeal," I said. "Yes," he said. "We do." I called Gianna that night. Her husband answered, which meant she was putting the kids to bed, which meant I had about 4 minutes before she could actually talk. I told him not to interrupt her. I'd call back. She called me 40 minutes later from the kitchen, and I could hear the particular quiet of a house after children are asleep. That specific, temporary peace. "They ruled against me," I said. She was quiet for a moment. "What does Nathaniel say?" "We appeal." "Okay," she said. And then, "You know what I keep thinking about? That time Marcus came for Easter. Dad asked him about his work. You know how Dad asks, just making conversation? And Marcus gave this whole answer about numbers and targets and how the market was tricky. And Dad just nodded. And afterward he said to me, 'That man talks a lot without saying anything.' I thought Dad was just being Dad. He wasn't just being Dad." "No," I said. "He wasn't." "You're going to win this," Gianna said. "Not as comfort, as a statement. You have the document. You have the date. He paid cash, Claire. Madonna mia. People don't pay cash for an $800,000 condo and forget to mention it." "I know." "Call me after every single thing that happens," she said. "Every single thing." I promised her I would. The appeal took 4 months. Nathaniel filed a detailed brief arguing that the trial court had conflated 2 separate legal duties: the petitioner's procedural choice to waive discovery and the respondent's substantive duty to make full financial disclosure. These were not the same thing, and treating them as interchangeable, he argued, had the effect of converting an act of trust into a waiver of legal protection. During those 4 months, I worked. I treated patients, wrote notes, attended staff meetings, went home, called Gianna on Sundays, had Thursday dinners with Ruth. I did not hear from Marcus. I did not expect to. Ruth said very little about the legal proceedings and instead showed up with food at regular intervals. On the Thursday evening after Nathaniel filed the appeal brief, she appeared at my door with a container of her mother's pozole and a look that said she was not going to ask me how I was feeling because she already knew. "Eat," she said. "You look like you've been thinking too hard." "I have been thinking too hard," I said. "Then stop for a night." She sat down at my kitchen table with her own coffee and looked at me across it. "You know what I think about?" "What?" "That first work Christmas party you brought him to. He spent the whole evening making sure every person in the room liked him. Not in a gross way, just he was working it. And I thought, that's exhausting. Who does that at a Christmas party?" She shook her head. "I should have said something." "You did say something," I said. "I told you you were wrong." "You did," she said, without any particular emphasis. She pushed the pozole toward me. "Eat." The appellate panel's ruling came on a Thursday morning. Nathaniel called me at 8:47 in the morning, and I knew from the timing, before my first patient, which he would have known from my schedule, that it was not going to be bad news. "We won," he said. I looked up and quietly said, "Grazie." The appellate panel, in an opinion authored by Judge Cynthia Brockovich, found that the trial court had erred. Waiving formal discovery is a procedural choice, the court held, but it does not convert a spouse's duty of full financial disclosure into a mere courtesy. The respondent's obligation to disclose marital assets exists independently of and prior to any discovery mechanism. Fraudulent concealment of those assets, particularly concealment accompanied by active misrepresentation of the marital estate's financial health, cannot be excused by the other party's decision to extend trust rather than demand documentation. The court vacated the original judgment and remanded the case for a new division of marital assets, including the Michigan Avenue condominium. I read the opinion 3 times. It was 41 pages. I read all of them. The reopened hearing was scheduled 6 weeks after the appellate ruling. Elaine Whitcomb and Nathaniel Cross both appeared. Marcus sat at the respondent's table in a gray suit I had never seen before, his hands flat on the table in front of him. Not quite still. Elaine made one final argument, that the condo's value for the purpose of the property division should be assessed as of the date of discovery, not the date of purchase. Since, she argued, the marriage had already ended by the time the concealment was discovered. Nathaniel responded in 2 sentences. The condo was purchased 14 months before the divorce was finalized. It was a marital asset at the time of the divorce, and it should have been in the marital estate at the time of the divorce. The date of discovery is irrelevant to the question of when the asset existed. Judge Brockovich agreed. The judge then addressed Marcus directly. "Mr. Delaney, can you explain to the court why this property was not disclosed during the original divorce proceedings?" Marcus looked at the table for a moment. When he answered, his voice was even. Not defensive, not apologetic, just honest in the way that people sometimes finally become honest when there is nothing left to gain from being otherwise. "I bought that unit with bonuses I'd been saving for years," he said, "before we were even married. I always thought of it as mine, not ours. I know legally that's not how it works, but some part of me never stopped thinking of it that way, even when I knew I should have said something. I should have said something. It was not an apology, but it was, at least, the truth. And after 2 years of uncertainty, the truth was not nothing. The court awarded me an equitable share of the condo's assessed value. Not half, but a substantial portion reflecting what I would have received had the asset been properly disclosed 3 years earlier. The court also ordered Marcus to cover the majority of my legal fees, finding that I should not have had to litigate to recover information that was his legal obligation to provide. Nathaniel and I walked out of the courthouse together into the flat gray light of a November afternoon. He stopped on the steps and looked at the street for a moment, satisfied but not going to make a performance of it. "Good result," he said. "Thank you," I said. "For the appeal especially. That brief was something." He made a small sound that was not quite modesty and not quite disagreement. "The law was on our side. We just had to make the court see it." He picked up his briefcase. "Go call your family." I did. I called Gianna first. She picked up on the second ring, which meant she had been waiting. "Tell me," she said. I told her. There was a long silence on her end, and then I heard her exhale. The particular breath of someone who has been holding something in for a very long time and has finally been given permission to put it down. "I'm going to tell Mom and Dad," she said. "Dad's going to say he knew." Dad did know, I said. Mamma mia. He did, she said. He's going to be insufferable about it. I laughed. It was the first real laugh I had managed in longer than I could remember. Let him. I called Ruth after that. She listened to the whole thing without interrupting, which was unusual for Ruth. And when I finished, she said, "Good. Now come for dinner Thursday. I'm making my mother's tamales, and I'm not eating them alone." I told her I'd be there. That evening, I drove home along the lake, the way I used to when I first moved to Chicago, and couldn't quite believe I lived somewhere with a lake that looked like an ocean. I thought about my grandfather's 40 acres and his idea that the land does not lie to you. I thought about how long I had carried that idea through a marriage to a man who operated on a different principle entirely. That what you didn't say wasn't quite the same as a lie. That the gap between concealment and honesty was something you could live in indefinitely if you were careful enough. I know now that you cannot. The gap closes eventually. It closes because success leaves traces, because property has records, because the things we build to protect ourselves also document us. Marcus couldn't keep the condo secret forever. The bigger it became, the more valuable, the more real, the more places it had to show up. My father would have called that justice. I think I would call it something simpler. The truth being heavier than a lie can carry. I still work at the same clinic. I still treat the same patients, check the same notes twice, drive home along the lake when I need to think. I am more careful now than I was. Not suspicious, just careful. The way my grandfather was careful with the land. You give it your honest work. You don't assume what it will give back. You pay attention. That, I think, is the thing Marcus didn't count on. Not a forensic accountant, not a legal challenge. Just a woman who, once she started paying attention, didn't stop. If you made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate it. I have a question for you. Have you or someone you know gone through this or something similar? Let me know in the comments. And once again, thank you.